Well, I remember when I was a little gay teenager back in Richmond, Virginia, and hearing about something called the Damron Guide. And boy, it sounded risque and wonderful, and I just had to have one. So I snuck into a store and found it, a list of everything that was going on in the gay world. Little did I know I was picking up a piece of history. Tonight, we're speaking with the publisher of the world's oldest gay publishing company, the Damron Guide, Gina Gatta. Gina, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
50 years.
It will be soon.
Holy Toledo.
Yes.
Did you ever think that something that was about really helping people hook up was going to be historic?
No. It always had a very significant place in the community.
Yeah.
It created the community. I mean, Bob Damron used to say, "See America, find a friend," and that was the slogan. And it was the only way to find friends. There was no other way.
Yeah, I joke about that little story I just told, but it was true. It was
Right.
like, well, you're young, you're gay, and it's a different era, the early 70s, and where do you do? And I just heard about this book, and well, there's gay stuff in it, but not porn, just there's places to meet people.
To find out that there's people like you out there.
Yeah.
And it was a source for people, and it helped people come out, helped people realize it was okay to be gay.
Right.
They were not alone. And we have great stories of letters from people back in those snail mail days saying, if it wasn't for your book, I don't know, I wouldn't have survived. Right. Knowing that there were other people out there, that there were places for me to go that were with like-minded people. Right. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit, for those who don't know the history of the Damron Guide, tell us about how it started and who started it and how it came to be your company.
Well, in 1964, a man named Bob Damron, a San Francisco businessman, owned a few bars in the city here and started traveling around the country, and he had actually a small address book, like a little address book.
A little black book.
A little black book. And he went around the country and he wrote down all of his different, all the places he found. And then he would come back to San Francisco and he would put typographic and mimeograph it and he would put it together. And the next year he would get in his car, I assume, and drive around the country like a Bible salesman and go back to those businesses and bring the books to those businesses, and that's where you could buy them. You could only buy the book where he left them.
So it was a safe place too. So if you saw someplace listed in the Damron Guide, you knew that I could go there and it's going to be a gay-friendly establishment.
Right, correct. And so he would do that year after year. Then he had a mail order business, and you could do it very, very, very discreet. You could mail in your $4 for your book and get your book. And he did that on his own from probably 1965 till about 77, 78. Then he became a little bit more savvy, brought some staff on. And then in 1985, my friend Dan Delbex worked with him, and in 87, Dan bought it from him. I joined Dan in 89. So I've been there 24 years.
And did you think, you've seen a lot of changes. Did you think that you would be with one company that long?
No, no, I did not. And it was a part-time little job. I started in the mail order department. I started, at the bottom of the barrel. And Dan passed away from AIDS in 91.
Yes.
So things changed in the whole world changed for all of us. So
yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, because the Damron Guide always had a reputation. It was a fun book. This is where here's the one from 1970, which is this tiny little thing that you could slip in your pocket. And then one here from 1980, which I was flipping through, and there were the ads for the Island Paradise in Key West and. Your Kind of Man, South of Market, Club San Francisco, The Crypt. Some of these places that don't exist anymore.
Well, a lot of bathhouses.
A lot of bathhouses, that's my point.
Right, the point was there were a lot of bathhouses and a lot of cruisy areas because people were on the down low. People did not, being gay was not cool. It was a very secretive lifestyle. And this book helped you do that. But then Connie Chung broke a story in the early 90s about a heterosexual man who contracted HIV, supposed heterosexual man. His wife found out he was going to this rest stop, and all of a sudden the Damron Guide is front and center on her show 2020 or whatever it was.
Yes.
And so
Mrs. Maury Povich.
Right. And this book leads to HIV. And in cruisy areas lead to HIV transmission. So
now, where were you at that point? You weren't working with the
company. Oh yes, I was. I was brand spanking new.
So what was that like? Did people come and call you and show up at the
doorstep?
doorstep?
I got phone calls from this one phone call I remember from the Washington Times, a very right-wing paper in New York, in D.C., saying, you list college campuses and this and that. What do you have to say about it? You're promoting this kind of behavior, and they just really got me. I wasn't prepared. We pulled most rest stops out of the book. We still have. The gay community has gotten a lot savvier as time has gone by. But it was, it was not the way I wanted Damron to be portrayed on national TV for the first time.
Right. And that was the first time it had been portrayed in the national media, mainstream media, quote unquote.
Right. So as times have gone by, it's like, we've become more of the resource for HIV resources, for harm reduction information. We list every single gay AA meeting in the country. We've really changed as the community has changed. It's not just a place that you meet to have sex. It's a place that creates community.
Well, again, but at that point, we're close in age. If there had been legal, safe places for gay men and lesbians to meet without being harassed by the cops, we wouldn't have to have secret places to meet.
Right.
So when that controversy happened, and you've got, Connie Chung doing this expose saying you spread AIDS, blah, blah, blah. Did you think maybe we'll just change the name of the book then?
No, what we did is we added a new title called Damron Accommodations. And Damron Accommodations had no sex in it. So what we did, it didn't. It just had accommodations. And so that was also appealing to like the straight hotels that wanted the gay dollar.
Yeah.
The gay market is going to be huge, but I don't want to be in that book because there were bathhouses in that book. So we started creating different books. We started our woman's book. We pulled the woman's listings out.
Well, yeah, because I saw, I was like, well, this is the first time I've seen the woman's book, but that's not stupid. I wouldn't have gotten it.
Right. The woman's book is 22 years old. I started that just shortly right after I started because, many years, the men's book would always list a few women's places, but it was generally for men.
Yeah.
And so, we broke that out, and the only two books that we're still publishing are the men's book and the woman's book. We've brought us, focusing more of our efforts on the web now and on our digital content.
Right. Now, 25 years for you, almost 50 years for the company. How has the internet changed or almost killed
the
what you do?
Internet pretty much killed. 1999 was the point. In 1999, the internet bubble. That's where we had the whole. We were doing so great. We were coming back from the loss of Dan, and publishing 6 books a year, and then we had to put all of our money towards our technology. So we took a real big hit on publishing over the last 15 years, but. We're surviving. We're survivors, and we have a great product. We have a great reputation. We still sell our content online, which is pretty much unheard of.
Yeah. What do you mean by that? So, another gay site or a news source says, I want to know A, B, and C about LGBT accommodations or whatnot. They come to you for content.
They come to me for content, and I tease you. I will tease you with people that pay me to have their listing come up free. And then if you want to see my entire 25,000 listings, you pay me. You become a subscriber. You become a Damron member. There's so many sites out there that have so much gay content. What's the real content? What's the true content? What's the clean content? I'm that. And that's our asset. The asset is the Damron content.
Right.
So we do still charge for it. Of course, I have a task force out there right now talking about how we're going to what would the steps be in the next few years about how we're going to change that, because we need to change that.
Right. So it started out as Bob Damron and a BMW.
Right.
I was going to say a Volkswagen. Sorry.
No, in a station wagon with wood sides.
Yeah, I was about to say driving around the country, getting addresses and phone numbers. Who's your research team now?
Well,
is it the internet, or do you have people still out there?
Well, for many years, it was newspapers. So we would get all the newspapers, and then we had in the 80s and 90s, I had phone bills that were like $5,000 a month because I would call every listing. And now with the internet, it's a matter of just decipher. Right. And we have a lot of correspondence around the world. Not so much paid correspondence, but readers. We have over 1 million books sold. So, I have a huge database of readers. Yeah. So people are everybody always wants to tell you what's wrong. Nobody wants to tell you what's right. They always want to tell you what's wrong. So that's great. So we get great feedback from our users.
Right. Now you say that, I thought that was an interesting comment, that Damron created the gay community. You believe that?
I believe that. Damron helped document the gay community. If people come to me all the time that are writing a paper. I'm writing a paper on Toledo, Ohio. I need to find research on 1975 to see how the community developed. I want to see how the gentrification happened in a certain neighborhood. I have that.
Right.
I can show you how certain streets in certain cities developed. So with this, we created we were the face to the Facebook.
Yes. You've got one soundbite after another. We were the face-to-face book. Do you have any people that were in, say, the 1970 book, or let's say the original 1964 book, that are still advertisers?
Yes, there are some. Not advertisers, because we list everything free. We are the Yellow Pages. We're a directory. We put everything in free. Of course, advertising pays for the free, but there are some businesses that are still there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 50 years as a publishing company, you still consider yourself a publishing company. You have 2 books. How has Facebook and social media changed what you do?
Oh, it's tremendous. And of course, we've got great competitors out there, too. There's a company called Gay City. It's a great competitor, which tries to bring in, Facebook, Foursquare, all of it into one. I mean, it's changed it tremendously, and of course we're trying to open ourselves up to be more content driven, more socially interactive. There's a fine line with that. I'd love to be the gay Yelp. Who would be?
Yeah.
Right? But time will tell.
So you're still competitive?
Oh yeah.
What do you think is what do you think is next? Your next 50 years, your next 25 years. What do you see coming?
Well,
in gay publishing is what I mean.
Well, I think gay publishing is going to just morph into more of a smaller niche in publishing as it survives. For Damron, I think Damron is going to be more a historical product. I think we're looking at keeping the history of perpetuity. My goal is to make sure that the history of these 50 years and these many editions gets digitized.
Yes. I mean, you should have these in the Gay and Lesbian Historical Society.
Right, but there's a matter of So my goal is to keep it in perpetuity. Where that sits, I'm not sure.
But hopefully you'll still be there talking about it.
I certainly will.
We've been speaking with Gina Gatta, publisher of the Damron Guide. Next up, our conversation with Amity Buxton of the Straight Spouse Network. We'll be right back. Thanks.